It looks like Georgia and Florida are going to have to find a new place to play in 2025 and 26. That's according to Jacksonville's mayor, Lenny Curry. Now, who was talking to 1010XL in Jacksonville. He said the quote best case scenario was for the city to renovate TIA Bank Field in about 2 years, and those would be the 2 years they do it. So this is a kind of long conversation. Make sure that you're stick with me on this because it's going to take a second or two to get through. So there's a contract. Georgia, and Florida have a contract with the city of Jacksonville that goes through the 2023 season, but there's a 2 year option to extend the contract through the 2025 season. Now, I have to say, I don't know how it's possible to extend a contract when, you know, I don't see how that 2 year extension is going to occur. Just because, and I think it may be that something happens in the near future, and Georgia and Florida agree to play there in 24 and then 27 or something like that. But they're not gonna. You're not gonna extend when you can't play there. So there may be some moving around this. So there's a few things here all at once. Number one, I think we all know where Kirby is on this. I think that he's made very clear his opinion about it. He's not the only person in the room. In fact, I mean, he's the football coach. He's not the czar or king. So, well, you do want to certainly listen to what coaches have to say about situations. He's not wrong, by the way, about what all that you can't do when you play the game in Jacksonville. But the city in Jacksonville is not doing all of this, so it's going to lose something that brings $30 million in economic development every single year. So, what's going on too in Jacksonville is the mayor will no longer be in office. I think this summer, which is kind of a strange time to change mayors, but whatever. And so the fact of the matter is, all of that notwithstanding, Georgia and Florida will probably play 24 and 5, 25 and 6 at home. So it's like a whole mess because in 2024, obviously the SEC is going to probably a 9 game schedule, number one. Number two, it's definitely going to be different than 2023. So there's a lot of change building here over the next couple of years. If you want an edition of Double Dogs, make sure you're signing up for our newsletter. If you do not sign up for it, you will not be one of the 5 folks that's going to get this. They're going to win this on May 15th. So get it done now. That's the link down below. Again, we cannot do this without DoorDash. If you are going to DoorDash, make sure that you're getting your 50% off using the code DAWG. That's for first-time members or first-time users. It's a limited time offer and terms apply. Don't forget the code is DAWG, DAWG, for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. So I think I, my suspicion is what will happen here. This is just, my suspicion is this game will go home at least for 2 years, if not for 4. And what will happen is in 24, that game will this is when we'll know in 2024, when the schedule comes out, in theory. We will know that the game is either in Jacksonville or in Gainesville or in Athens. And I think 24 would be Georgia would be in 24, Georgia would be the home team. So in 2024, Georgia would be the home team. Now, that's irrelevant. Like, that can completely change based on what the SEC is going to do. So in theory, Georgia, Florida, 2024 in Athens, a few days. I can tell you the date. I mean, in theory now, we're talking about in theory because we know when that game is played. Now, that's not going to change, I don't think. When you talk to people, so that would be probably Um, October 26th would be my guess on that. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 week off. Actually, I'm going to say November 2nd. That would give them, that would give Georgia, no, I'm miscounting it. So I would say actually the 26th, but I'm doing this right now as this has just come out. So I do think that it will take a 2 year break, but I wonder after that if the two schools will say, hey, this is a premier stadium now, which it is not right now. I can assure you of that. They'll say, we want to keep playing here. And really, more than anything, y'all, the money. I mean, the money matters here. And if you don't think it does, you're being naive. Now, look over on Dog Post, and the reason why, I don't talk about Dog Post a lot, but I will be talking about it more and more over time here, just because you're missing out on a lot of value by not being a member. $5 million over 2 years is what the schools are getting. That's $2.5 million. When they renegotiate this thing, I can assure you it's going to be more than that. So why does that matter? $2 million. It's not that much money. It's not that much. Yeah, it is. Over time, it is. Over a 10-year period, that's money that the other schools don't get. That's money that Alabama is not getting. And Georgia gets it every single year. It's not like the Peach Bowl game at the beginning of the season where you play it a lot, but you don't play it every single year. So I think that that's one major thing to pay attention to. People will say, well, Kirby wants this. They've already extended it with Kirby as the head coach at Georgia. When he had already played for the SEC championship, won the SEC championship, played for a national championship, they already extended it. So we'll see. I mean, I think that the city of Jacksonville is not going to redo this facility with the idea that they're going to lose Georgia, Florida. They're already worried about the Jags. They're concerned that the Jags are playing 2 games in London this year. Now, only one of them is a home game over there, but they're playing 2 games in London, like across the pond. So this game, though, Georgia Florida made Jacksonville. Coffee and this game made Jacksonville. So they would not have the Jags. I can assure you they would not have the Jags had Georgia and Florida not played this game, 70-ish years in a row before that. They wouldn't have that. So we've seen this before. In 94 and 5, the two schools took 2 years off, played 1 year in Athens and 1 year in Gainesville, and Georgia got slaughtered in both games. Kirby played in 95 for sure. He did not in 94. So I don't know if he traveled down there, but um, we've seen this before. I am skeptical for a lot of different reasons that the game would permanently move. I'm skeptical. That doesn't mean it won't. Um, and I've laid out why. When you're paying Kirby Smart $10 million a year, and you are subsidizing that with probably in the future about a $3 million a year deal, that's real money. $3 million. That's Georgia's recruiting budget for the year. Okay, something like that. That's real money, and they're not spending that money on other stuff. People say, "Oh, it's $3 million. That's not that much money." Some of y'all have never been in business before. I guess. I mean, like margins matter. And a $3 million margin that you're not paying anything to go down there and play. And the exposure you get from that game every single year. I can tell you right now, Disney is going to want that game in Jacksonville. Now, how much they want it in Jacksonville, I don't know. CBS, it was a big thing for them for that game to be in Jacksonville. The schools, it may though come to a point where the schools say, we really want the game at home. I don't think Florida feels that way. They really kind of never have. It's an easy game for them. Again, now that's all that. But personally, Jacksonville's got a long way to go. I would not move the game permanently. But I will just say The stadium is not good. Excuse me, the stadium's not great. It's better than it once was. They have made it drastically better than it once was because it used to be horrid. And before that, it was a total dump with chain link fences and all this stuff. So it's gotten better, but everywhere's gotten better. It pales in comparison to the dome. It's not even close to that. So it's not. It's got a ways to go, but they're not dumping this money into that stadium. A stadium that has already been redone, and we're coming on. What was that? So that was '96. They started there. So I mean, I went to school in DeKalb County, so I'm going to have to go ahead and add this up the right way. That's a 27-year-old stadium as is that they have done some work to already, and they're about to dump a pile more money in there. This is the city. I'm not going to get started on my opinion of taxpayer subsidized stadiums. I'm going to refrain from that. But the city around the stadium is not nice. It is not nice. The parking is horrible. The traffic is horrible. The event that is the game, the schools should allow the Gator Bowl, like the Gator Bowl Association, to take it over. Florida should not be running this game the way that it does. Interior, it's now I don't mean that bad towards the Gators. It's too much. So let the Gator Bowl run it like a bowl game, run it like the Peach Bowl runs the Chick-fil-A game, and go get a sponsor. You want to add more to that $3 million that I'm talking about? Yeah, I think you could easily add Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Dog Post as the naming sponsor for Georgia, Florida. You're leaving money on the table. AT&T forever had the Texas Oklahoma game, and I think that's the other thing too. If you're Georgia and Florida, you really don't want to give up one of the only. There are only three actual neutral site games left in college football: Texas, Oklahoma, Army, Navy, and this. Please do not tell me about Arkansas, Texas A&M. That's some made up thing by Jerry Jones. It's awesome, but it's not the same. So this is one of those things, and we're just going to see what happens. But I mean, my opinion is the game should stay in Jacksonville. But my opinion comes with a caveat, which is it's got to be nicer. It's not nice enough. It is. It is not nice enough. I am not going to call it a dump, but it's not where it needs to be to host a world-class event. And if you want to be a world-class city, if you want to host Super Bowls and they're not people staying on boats, Jacksonville, then get it right down there. And that's the problem, though, is Jacksonville's not really a huge city in terms of it's not Atlanta, right? So it's not. I mean, it doesn't have the hotel space of Orlando, which is its whole other mess. But there's got to be a practical way to do this. It's challenging, I will admit, for the city. And but they lose Georgia, Florida, they will have lost a lot of their identity. And I think you just don't want that to happen if you're Jacksonville. And my bet is they will not allow that to happen. But we'll see.